Yahoo! So final quick video tonight. We teased it at the end of the Baronamic video, and that is first a new snap-on tool in quite some time. Most importantly, yellow. It's like not the most important thing, but it is yellow. You can take a look at 14.4. That's why I buy snap-on generally. Quick change impact driver. CTQ861HVDB. The HV is high vis. CTQ, that is important. The Q means quick change, which means 1/4 inch chuck. Right? 861, 800 series is brushless. So this should be the brushless version of their quick change impact driver. There you go. CT838, CTQ838, CT861, and CTQ861. So what that's saying is it's the, and this is the same on I don't know where my impact went, but for this guy, this is its predecessor, the CTQ761, or wait, CT761AHVDB, I think. Something like that. It's the quick change though. And it's based on the 761. You can see it there. CT761. So same thing here. That's the 3/8 inch drive. So it's basically the 3/8 inch cordless 14.4 volt impact with the toggle trigger, right? But with the 1/4 inch quick change chuck. And you're like, 1/4 inch quick change chuck. Yeah, that's the one you're thinking of. So this is an impact driver. You know, don't use these though. These are the Milwaukee carbide bits. These will snap off if you use an impact driver. That's why I got recalled. Ha! I will never succumb to that recall. And here is the 3/8 inch version of this exact tool here. This is the, you can't see, it's behind the boot. But this is the 861, CT861, CTQ861. Apparently, the quick change chuck impact drivers have gotten in enough pull now to actually get their own model. They have the Q on there. There is also this guy, which is the CT825HB. That is the 1/4 inch variant. So it's not based on this guy. Even though this is a 1/4 inch chuck, it's based on the bigger 3/8 inch. This guy needs a boot before I mess it up. Oh, here's the there's the my 761. This one's a little bit beat up, so I might look at getting a better version of it. Got this one used. This one's kind of hard to get because the first one that was upgraded to brushless was this guy, which is the 3/8 inch, and that's what this one is. So finding 761s, since they've been around for so long and they were the first one to upgrade to brushless, finding them are new or like new. Like that's a pretty good condition one I just showed you. Finding better than that's real hard to do if you don't want to spend big bucks. Like a brand spanky new one direct from Snap-on. This is about as close as that gets. I still got this quite a bit off since I got it off of eBay versus direct from Snap-on. But as you can see, a lot of the new ones I get come with a manual, but they don't come with a box. So they're like new-ish. This guy is new as can be. So there we go. They fixed it! This is something that has irked me with Snap-on for... Okay, so, the OG. Not my green guy. This is the 725. CTS. S for screwdriver, 725. Here is my OG that I got over 10 years ago now. My CT661. This is what they, in 600 series, They didn't have 14.4 yet. They had 7.2, so half basically. Made much smaller tools. I still prefer the 7.2 volt tools. And the 14.4 battery works and it just runs at half voltage because the pins that are tripped and stuff like that. So this guy, if you notice, taking the bit out, you pull and you pull the bit out, right? So if we go to the 700 series, technically the 725, which is basically a 661, just renumbered. This is not actually a true 700 series. It is, so it's a little bit newer, you know. But it's the 700 series got bigger. They went to the 14.4 volt, right? So we have here we have the screwdriver. This is a CTS 761. Never really liked this one that much, because it's running 14.4. It's got a bunch more power, but it's bigger. Let's see what I mean here shortly. Bada bing. See, bigger this way. If you line it up from here, you can see it's basically because they added that two-step thing, but the actual motor is bigger in this. So there's actually quite a bit more weight in this. It sits nice in your hand because it's over the back of your hand, but I still prefer this smaller size. But if you notice, like pull out, right? Push in. I don't like that when you're screwing in because this can get caught on stuff and eject the bit. It doesn't also auto eject, right? So also in that same generation, also you gotta remember I've been using the my 661 CTS, my screwdriver, and my 725 screwdriver long before I bought any of these, because it was only really when I started doing other stuff. Even around the house, I didn't have this guy, the impact driver. I had my Milwaukee one because I had the Milwaukee drill, and then the Milwaukee impact driver. Much better price for the budget, but dude, these toggle triggers are just too nice. But yeah, the fact that you pull out on this, super nice. And you're like, well, yeah, it's annoying. They switched to push in, right? And I was just so used to push in. And then but here, it's also push in. Even though that chuck is way bigger and sticks out more, right? But if we then go to this guy, which is actually my second favorite tool besides the screwdriver, which is the smaller impact. This is actually a 661QC, so that's what this guy would have on there. It'd be a CT761AQC for quick change. They put the Q at the end rather than beginning. I like that they improved it, right? So I didn't actually know the 661 existed. I've always had 725 QCs, right? But it makes sense. If there's a 725, there's probably a 661 because this has been the high end in the 600 series, right? This is pull out. So 600 and 700 series, low end 700 series are pull out. But then 700 series they went to push in. But hold on. Here is the CTS 861. Now, if you look at this, it's got these ridges here, right? They were actually 761s that had that same chuck. How you tell the difference, though, is this is much more beefy on the torque adapter here. But because this chuck with the grooves on instead of the knurling, which I don't like the grooves, I like the knurling, was on this, it's the same here. So you push in, right? So even though this is an 800 series, and this is an 800 series, you'd think it'd be pull in, push in. But no, it's pull out. Which I like. I prefer the pull out, because then you have a bit. Put your bit in. That's one thing Snap-on could do that DeWalt does better, where like putting it in, it automatically slips past. But then pulling out, you can't, like, or when you push in, say if it's sort of catch a board or tool or part of your thing, pushing on this doesn't eject it. You have to pull that and then pull that out. I much prefer that. Now, also, I am just super used to it. Anytime I pick up a snap-on tool with a toggle trigger, that I should have to pull to get the thing out because, like I said, I've spent 10 years first using this guy, which I really should send out for repair. This is my original 661 that I got from one of my first IT jobs that I did like personally out on a farm, and I saw them using this, and I'm like, I want this, and they're like, oh, well, we can get you one. This was effectively my payment for my first job out there. And then later on, once the 700 series got out, and like these were available all over the place, maybe not in yellow necessarily, but like, you know, like the 761, especially in red, readily available. That's actually how I got this, is they bought themselves the upgraded one, and I got their old one. I found just green, like somebody had bought a batch of green ones, and they needed 23 of them, and Snap-on's like, well, we make 25 at a time, so then they just sold the last 2 on their website or something. I managed to get a brand spanking new CTS 725 AQC, so it's a little bit newer than this guy. Same basic. Basically, the low-end 700 series is basically the 600 series. For the people that prefer them, I'm glad they're still around. I prefer this, especially once I got my 7.2 volt batteries rebuilt. But I am super happy. Like, watch, so you just pull this out, and there you go. So I'm super happy to see that the pull mechanism is back on the quick change. To be truthful, if they update this guy with pull, like the 861, because I actually use this one around the house a lot more, it's got a lot more oomph. If you notice, though, too, for some reason, they took the rubber off back here, and I don't like that. You can even see the mold where it should be. See? Look. Rubber? No rubber. Oddly, the drill has rubber, though. Maybe because they think you're going to be pushing here on the drill or something. But that made them differentiate. Besides having the brushless here, like when you saw these on a shelf next to each other, you would know that this is the brushless because it's got, you know, it doesn't have the black back on it. I would have preferred to see the rubber on it. It's just, especially if you drop it or, you know, set it down like this, that rubber really helps with that. Or often I'll carry it like this, and if it bumps, that's less of a concern, right? But if you look, this guy's brand new guy. This guy has a 2023 date on it. Yeah, it's... But yeah, so I wonder if they made a pull, like they updated this to be pull version. If they did, and knurling again, too. That's knurled. Now, this does stick out farther. If you look, it sticks out farther. This, though, sticks out considerably farther than that guy does. It's got to be beefier, though, because this is an impact, not a screwdriver. Yes, the impact variants are always based on the 3/8 inch, not the 1/4 inch, despite being 1/4 inch hex drive, which I always find that interesting. Here's one of my new rebuilt batteries that I put these. They're from STS. They're magnetic base on it. I added the rubber on there. I may or may not keep the rubber on, but and here's why I like the toggle trigger. Tighten, tighten, tighten. You know, loosen it back up. Dugga, 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 dugga. I just like that so much. Yeah. And like I said, I added this rubber. It's a little bit thick. Makes the magnet work a little bit worse. But I much prefer this sort of hard plastic. It's much slimmer than Snap-ons that kind of like snaps on. These screw in using longer replacement screws, but finding the yellow variant of finding this tool in general, it's fairly rare on eBay, because I feel like the quick change version is just, you remember Snap-on a lot of times used for automotive, so often they want the one that you put the socket directly on. The quick change is just much more common. This guy I had to buy directly from Snap-on. I don't know if I've ever seen one of these, especially in yellow. available on as like used or secondhand market. And you can be like, oh, all your stuff's in pristine condition. No, you can see this thing's like that's all for me. You know, I do. The yellow definitely shows dirt more, so I clean them up with the tub towels before I you know, put them away. And yeah, so it's this one I'll admit didn't get much use because I prefer the smaller one. Or by the time I found a good condition one of these, I actually have one of these that's in just ratted out condition that I did use. I had my brushless one. So I'm trying to remember. I might have actually ordered this one through Snap-on as well. I forget. You'd have to check back on previous videos. But I was pumped about this because finally a brushless. And surprisingly, I want to say these are right about the same weight. Yeah, let's we got our postage scale right over here. Let's see if it's working. I unplugged it. Oh, darn it. Either way, from my hand weighing, the brushless feels much better balanced in the hand. It feels a little bit bigger in the hand. I don't necessarily like that they got bigger. Every time Snap-on makes these bigger. Now that they have brushless tech, I want them to... They need to come back out with this bad boy. You know, the small one, 725. I prefer having a tiny battery, but obviously that's not coming back anymore. I don't use the crap out of this one. This one I just got a little while ago. I finally found a 661 in like pristine condition, right? And this bad boy. This is my number two, my two favorite. Now, I feel like Milwaukee could probably make one that's like lop this chuck off here, like right there nowadays. And you're like, yeah, but that's not gonna be like strong or like blah blah blah. Often I just need the impactingness. I don't need like I'll say like when we were putting in concrete screws, like hex concrete screws into, I think they were hex. They were actually countersunk because they had to go into the thing for the collar for the toilet, right? So they're actually countersunk, so I had to use the impact driver, right? This guy couldn't touch it. I had my second gen 12 volt. It's not the surge, but it's the surge, but without the surge part of it. That couldn't touch it with the 12 volt. This thing put him into the point where it, like nearly snapped him off. Like that's how much power this thing has. So a lot of stuff around the house, you want an impact. Like when you're driving a screw into wood, having an impact driver just makes life a shit ton easier. However, you do not need like push the screw through the 2x4 into the next 2x4 in the other room kind of power. You know what I mean? And this has a lot more weight, you know, to it. You know, the other thing is because this is un little guy, you can take the small 7.2 battery in there, you know, and that is many heavier than this. So I really hope that now that they have the brushless down, every time they've gone bigger, I want to say even though he's got bigger, they didn't necessarily get heavier with the brushless. But they always got more powerful. It's like a lot of times though I don't necessarily need more powerful. That's kind of where Milwaukee, they actually managed to go like shorter this way, you know, like this, like lengthwise, but fatter that way. Apparently has been working for them. Snap-on definitely hasn't done that, but Milwaukee doesn't have this super variable toggle trigger. And I will admit, ever since they went brushless, it's a bit notchier and harder to control than, say, here's the previous version that's full analog. Yeah, I prefer the analog controls. However, with the brushless motor, they literally cannot do that. because of how it works. That's why a lot of the early brushless, like this guy here, the brushless screwdriver that I was seriously waiting for, did not come out for the longest time. They had one without the toggle trigger. They had it out, right? And it wasn't the 861. It was like the 825, and it was out for the longest time. But it didn't have a toggle trigger. It had like the drill trigger, and that's not why I buy these Snap-on. I want the toggle trigger, but apparently enough people don't want the toggle trigger anymore. They actually make slightly cost down one, very slightly, but they actually make like a like an 8-something version of like all of these now with just a trigger like the drill. I mean, they already have the mechanism because their drill does not have the toggle trigger. However, I want to do the opposite. I'm like, I wonder if I can swap the toggle trigger and the body of one of these with the toggle onto a drill model, like onto the drill chuck, you know, if it lines up. Usually the screwdriver is based on the drill because that's where they get the tension / torque settings. So I've really considered doing that, but like I don't like these are all very nice. I don't want to rip them apart and play hodgepodge just to see if shit works on like, you know, very nice working good condition tools. I may use some of the ones that are a little bit ratted out to test out that theory. So let me know what you guys think down below. I'm very pumped to have this thing. When I rebuilt the mailbox, it would have been amazing to have this. That thing chewed through batteries like crazy, and if they could put that on the screwdriver, the pull forward release, I would replace this. Like maybe one of you guys would be eligible to get it off of me. You know what I mean? But this is annoying. This whole like, oh, and then sometimes too it doesn't align right when you, because you have to like push it in exactly right. Like there's like a way to do it, right? So it like doesn't like see. It like hangs sometimes. Whereas the pulley thing, you just pull. I don't know. Let me know down below. Are you pull or push? And what do you think about the toggle trigger? Would you spend like is it worth Snap-on money to get this for you? Also, as a heads up, if you guys do want like screwdriver, like if you want a nice PC building screwdriver, my recommendation if you don't want to splurge on a Snap-on is this DeWalt with the gyroscope. This is nearly as good. I found that through Adam Savage. He was using it for his Nerf gun build actually, and I was like, "What the frick is that thing?" And I like did, you know, like a bit of I don't even know if back then, like you could have just pointed the Google lookup or the Google Spotlight or whatever it's called at it, and it would have figured it out. But I did my research, figured it out, and like literally went and drove to a Home Depot that was multiple cities away to pick it up the next day because I wanted the 2-battery version, and ours only had the 1 battery without the flippy handle, and I preferred the flippy handle. But otherwise, the 661 and 725, which are the screwdriver ones, or if you want the really rare small impact, which is the also 661 or 725, those you can only buy on eBay. However, they're still fixable. I have already sent one of the 725 QC impacts into Snap-on. They fixed that right up. The only piece that they cannot get, because it's not shared with anything else, I should say the only 2 pieces, I guess, is this guy, little pulley, you know, chuck, because this is the only one that has this chuck, and this piece, the actual like metal cone here. So on my other one, it had some scrapes and bumps and stuff on. These are very new. They have their nice powder coat on them. It was a bit dinged up, not horribly so, but a bit dinged up. And they're like, "Hey, we can get you a new motor, a new shell, blah blah blah." But they couldn't replace the actual like you know, quick change chuck here as well as that piece because apparently this is different than on the here's a 725. This is a 725 and they have 661 as well. Somehow that's different. So it kind of looks like this. This is what happens when you don't have a boot on it. And you cannot get a boot for the smaller ones. You can get it for the 761 and the 861, obviously. 861, 761. They did not make them for the 661 and then you know, the equivalent 725. So it's got a, you know, the other one, the 725 I had repaired had a bit of dings like this. I mean, listen, that thing it needs to go out as well. But the reason why I bought this one is the yellow housing on the 725 is really rare. I can clean this up with a tub of towels. It's still in decent condition. And I'm actually going to put this on the rebuilt QC version because the shell is the same. I know and I actually have a replacement label as well, or you can pick the label off. But I mean, you got to have yellow tools, right? Or whatever color you guys are, into. I just saw Snap-on makes white now. They always had camo. Blue's kind of been like a limited edition version as their kind of classic Snap-on color. That's where their blue point also comes from. But yeah, I just saw a white impact the other day. I'm like, oh, that could look real nice. I also bought my mom the pink screwdriver that she loves. Uses it all the time. It's like the one tool, and especially with the toggle trigger, you just have such good control over it. People are like, oh, this is a worse technologically tool than the Milwaukee. Yeah, it might be, but Milwaukee doesn't have that. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And this guy's gonna be sinking some, 3-inch wood screws all day, every day. Not all day, but probably every other weekend or whatever. And doing a bunch of stuff on the car if needed. Like if you ever have there's that little screw that holds on the brake rotor. Throw a bit in there, try and deck it out. Otherwise, use an impact screwdriver to kind of bop it with a hammer. Dead blow, big ol', give it a smack. But the bit ones for me around the house doing things are more useful. I can see why the mechanics go for the socketed, choked or socketed variants. But I think for the average person, the impact driver, I would almost say impact driver over drill. I personally would rather have an impact driver and a screwdriver over a drill. Drills just for drilling holes. You can always put they make impact rated drill bits now, or you can always use a screwdriver in drill mode. It's not going to have as much speed, but it can do it. I did that for many years. Both of those things, and I think the drill is kind of garbage of both, unless you get a very high end one. I'd rather for driving stuff into concrete, wood, and impact driver. Duck. So, let me know any comments, questions, etc. below. We're finally filling out basically every tool that can be available in yellow is available in yellow. Obviously, the 600 series isn't because they didn't have yellow yet. And my 700 series, you saw what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and do a little shell swap there. So, hopefully we'll see you in future videos, and have a good one as always. Peace.